The Supreme Court of India. In Environment and Consumer Protection Foundation versus Union of India has stressed the need to encourage widow remarriage. A bench comprising Justice Madan B. Lokup and Justice Deepak Gupta on Friday, August 11, 2017, said that there can be little or no doubt at all that widows in some parts of the country are socially deprived and to an extent ostracized. These petitions were filed and taken up in public interest are intended to bring back some sunshine in the lives of the widows in Vrindavan and in ashrams elsewhere in the country. The judgment, authored by Justice Madan B. Lokup, has expressed that it is a pity that these widows have been so unfortunately dealt with, as if they have ceased to be entitled to live a life of dignity, and as if they are not entitled to the protection of Article 21 of the Constitution. The petitioner, Environment and Consumer Protection Foundation, is a registered charitable society and a non-political body. It filed a petition under Article 32 of the Constitution essentially for an appropriate writ requiring the Union of India and the state of Uttar Pradesh to take all steps to rehabilitate the widows of Vrindavan so as to bring them to a stage where they can live with dignity. The petition was filed on the basis of an article White Shadows of Vrindavan written by Atul Sethi and published in the New Delhi edition of the Times of India of the 25th of March, 2007. The apparent intention of the article was to report and bring to the notice of the public and the government agencies the pathetic and shocking conditions of the widows living in Vrindavan, begging in temples and then huddling together in hovels. Broadly speaking, the article described the city of Vrindavan, in which abandoned widows live a hand-to-mouth existence like white shadows, thus giving the city another name, that is the City of Widows. According to the author, no one knows since when these widows have been coming to Vrindavan, but most of them are from West Bengal and their life stories often follow a similar pattern, which is the death of the husband, relatives leaving them in Vrindavan, days spent singing prayers and begging at temples where they live on a day-to-day basis. Most widows refuse to go back to their village or home, even if they are given a chance to do so, saying that now this is our home. According to the author, the widows congregate in some ashrams or temples where they sing bhajans and are paid about ₹18 per day for about 7 to 8 hours of singing. The rest of their time is spent begging on the streets. Many of them are too old to look after themselves, requiring others to pool in their resources to look after them. Overall, the article paints a rather tragic and dismal picture of the living conditions of the widows in Vrindavan. Agreed Action Plan. Directions proposed by the National Commission for Women. 1. Create an interactive database which would provide access for homes to input information as soon as a widow enters their system. The database must have a profile of the widow to be able to understand her needs and needs to be updated as soon as a widow enters the system. The portal can be created by the government with access given to registered homes to provide their inputs. The Government of India has initiated such a program for the purposes of adoption. Action Plan of the Ministry of Women and Child Development. The ministry will develop appropriate Aadhaar-enabled software for capturing data concerning inmates of Swathagrah within the next 6 months and, if necessary, an external agency will be engaged for it. Access, to the extent required, will be provided to different stakeholders, and the agency entrusted with the development of the software will be asked to build inadequate safeguards to protect the confidentiality of the information. The Apex Court has commented against this action plan that the Aadhaar-enabled software will be subject to the pending litigation. The second direction proposed by the Commission was that widows with families must be identified and their families must be counselled for taking care of them, and in cases where required legal action, as warranted, may be taken. Towards this, the action plan of the ministry was that the family counselling centres working under Central Social Welfare Board (CSWB) and State Social Welfare Boards (SSWB) across the country will be entrusted with the responsibility of identifying widows who have families. The progress of the work done will be compiled by the CSWB every month and a report sent to the ministry every quarter. The CSWB will, in consultation with other stakeholders, be asked to develop a suitable module for counselling families within a period of 6 months and, thereafter, review and update it as and when required. The apex got opined on this agreed action plan that the follow-post counselling should be made clear, and particularly in cases where the family does not take care of the widow even after being counselled. In the fourth direction proposed by the Commission, it is recommended that the public sector organizations must be encouraged to contribute certain percentage of their CSR funds for a widows management fund, which would be used for developing vocational trainings for widows. In the action plan of the ministry, it is reported that the Ministry of Women and Child Development has already taken up the matter with the Department of Public Enterprises and Ministry of Corporate Affairs. The matter shall be further pursued with them, it said. The bench has commented on this that the concerned ministry should be advised that the fund is intended to assist and benefit destitute widows. Fifthly, it was suggested that the government must actively explore medical insurances for all widows, and at least widows that are housed in the squatter homes, so that good medical facilities can be accessed by the widows. The ministry recommended that in all states and union territories, medicines are provided free of cost to the patients through the common health centers and primary health centers under the National Health Mission of the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. It may, therefore, not be necessary to introduce medical insurance, as such a measure could take away a portion of the income of widows and impoverish them further. The Ministry of Health and Family Welfare has been requested to advise all state governments and union territory administrations to ensure that access to free medicines is ensured to all those staying in squatter homes. The bench added to this that the benefit of the supply of free medicines should be made available to destitute women as well. Availability of free medical treatment needs consideration. Regarding immediate action to be taken to improve the infrastructure of the homes and funds to maintain it, the action plan suggests that in addition to the Swatter Grey scheme being implemented throughout the country, the Ministry of Women and Child Development has commenced construction of a new 1,000-bedded Swatter Grey at Vrindavan, District Batura. It has been designed to be old-age friendly and will have dormitories with attached toilet and utility balconies. The Swatter Grey will also have facility for physiotherapy, open theatre, vocational training, solar PV, solar water heating system, multipurpose hall, etc. The expected date of completion of this Swatter Grey is January 2018. The state governments should be encouraged to adopt the model planned by the ministry, the apex court added. Pension. It was found that the current allocation of pension was either inadequate or non-existent. The primary concerns that arose out of the research was that the pension amounts were not linked to the cost of living. There was no rational calculation for the amounts or the ceiling in the number of beneficiaries that the pension could be given to in any given state. Pension should be based on the cost of living index, and hence it should be on par with the minimum wage of an unskilled worker, with corresponding increase as the minimum wage increases. According to the ministry, the comparison between the amount of pension provided by the government and the minimum wages payable under various government schemes is not fair. While, Pension is paid as a welfare measure without any services being rendered by the beneficiary. Wages is the remuneration for the services rendered by the wage earner. If the two were to be equal, it will be a major disincentive to able-bodied person to do any work. The bench said that pension, as a welfare measure, ought to be linked with the cost of living index and should not be arbitrarily fixed. Structure and functioning of shelters. The Commission recommends the integration of SWAT homes, short-stay homes and other similarly placed facility homes to facilitate a smoother implementation of the policies directed for widow rehabilitation. The ministry informed that the two schemes, SWAT homes and short-stay homes of the Ministry of Women and Child Development, have already been merged into the new scheme, namely SWAT Grey, with effect from the 1st of January 2016. This scheme is implemented by the state government/union territory administration with funding from Government of India. The apex court stressed social audits should be conducted with regard to implementation of the schemes. The agreed action plan includes health and nutrition, coverage of legal fees and expenses, vocational training, periodic review of the homes, creation of awareness extra, grant of sanctions. Commission's proposed directions include enhancement of sanctions by the ministry to provide the concerned agencies with the budget necessary for the proper functioning of the homes. Periodic and timely release of grants to facilitate the continuance and sustenance of the homes were also part of their directions. The ministry said that the financial norms of SWAT Grey scheme have been revised with effect from the 1st of January 2016, and on further examination, the Department of Expenditure has opined that these are adequate for the time being. The bench opined that the norms should be reviewed every 6 months. The ministry ought not to be stingy with funds, especially for a good cause, the bench added. The apex court also opinionated that the effort put in by all concerned in the reports should not go waste. It must be gainfully utilized, being in a sense a gold mine of pragmatic and workable suggestions. Accordingly, the bench constituted a committee to study all the reports filed in the court for providing with a common working plan based on the suggestions in the reports within a period of 2 months, and in any case on or before the 30th of November, 2017. The committee shall consist of the following: 1. Ms. Sunita Jar of NGO Yagori. 2. Ms. Meera Khanna of Guild for Service. 3. Ms. Abha Singhal Joshi, lawyer and activist. 4. A nominee of HelpAge India, an NGO that has rendered valuable assistance in this case. 5. A nominee of Sulabh International, an NGO that has rendered valuable assistance in this case. 6. Ms. Aparajita Singh, a lawyer practicing in this court to provide any assistance on legal issues. This is a subject of hope that might enable a society to give up the stereotyped view of widows. We request the committee to consider this during its deliberations, the bench said. The court requests the National Commission for Women, in public interest, to assist in providing some working space to the committee. The bench also proposes to adequately remunerate the committee with an honorarium that will be decided when the matter is next heard. The registry will ensure that all the reports are made available to the members of the committee, the bench added. There can be little or no doubt at all that widows in some parts of the country are socially deprived and to an extent ostracized. Perhaps this is the reason why many of them choose to come to Vrindavan and other ashrams where, unfortunately, they are not treated with the dignity they deserve. This is evident from the article that caused this public interest litigation and the compilation of reports that this litigation has generated. It is to give voice these hapless widows that it became necessary for this court to intervene as a part of its constitutional duty and for reasons of social justice to issue appropriate directions. The court expresses its gratitude to the petitioners, the Ministry of Women and Child Development and the National Commission for Women for the efforts put in, and particularly to Ms. Rinaka Kumar, who has been of great assistance to the court through her reports. With a view to follow up on the agreed action plan submitted by the learned Solicitor General, listed these matters on the 9th of October, 2017. Environment and Consumer Protection Foundation vs. Union of India, August the 11th, 2017.